Pesach, tell you. Pesach is 1 week I eat matzah, the rest of the year I eat bread, right? But when we come together here to remember the 6 million, it's not for one night. We think of them day and night, all the time. Just tonight, a special way. Anyway, there's an enigma made up, just want to tell you. It's an echo. It says, this is why I'm crying. I'll tell you a gewalt story. You know, der heilige süße Reboch, Reb Reboch, Hashem's grandson, was looking for a son-in-law. And he heard that Ramotele actually, not a son-in-law, for a son-in-law for his granddaughter. So everybody knows the Rebbe Ramotele Chernobyl, one of the most illustrious, had 8 sons. And you know, they were born one after the other, so they all were the same. So decided to come to Ramotele Chernobyl to look at them. But you know, we friends, in those days, for good or for bad, it's not that the bride and the groom met and they went out for 100 years and then they finally decided, maybe, if my therapist feels I'm ready, get married. Especially in Chernobyl, children were engaged when they were 4 years old. Imagine you meet a boy, he's 6 years old, not engaged, he's over the hill, you know. Hopeless. Anyway, so in Chernobyl, you get engaged when you're young. So the kids were little. So he comes late at night and he says, Ramotele, I want to see one of my son-in-laws. He says, they're sleeping. He says, yeah, that's why I came late. I want to look at them. I want to see how they sleep. So he looks at them. And what he did, and I want you to open your hearts, he put his hand on their forehead, on the forehead of each of them. I want to know what they're thinking about. Then he says they all are so, can't decide which one is the best. I'll be back in a few weeks. In the meantime, the heilige Reb who was the mother of those children, he came to visit his sister. He also came late at night. So he says, I came to see you and your husband, but I really came to see the children. She says, they're sleeping. He says, yeah, that's the time to look at them. But he didn't put his hand on their forehead. He put his hand on their eyelids. They were all wet from tears. All wet from tears. He says to his sister, only you could bring down such big neshamas who are crying all night because of the destruction of the temple. So this is, I can't stop crying. Can't stop crying. The destruction of the temple, the destruction of the world. So many broken hearts, broken doors, broken windows. once in a pizza shop in Toronto, and a young lady came up to me, and she says, I know you like stories, let me tell you one. She says, I have a little boy of 5, and we belong to a Reform synagogue, and he goes there every Sunday. One Sunday he came back, and God bless you, and he said, I heard in Sunday school that we Jews have a Torah, and you can buy it in a Hebrew bookstore. Mamish, what a neshama. So we bought him a little Sefer Torah, little holy scroll, and from that day on, he only slept with the Torah in his arms. What a little boy. She said a few weeks ago he came home. He only goes this Sunday. Gewalt. What kind of a neshama? I hope he didn't get lost yet. Came back, he was crying. And he didn't stop crying. Literally, he cried. They couldn't even get it out of him why he's crying. Finally, he would just calm himself a little bit. We asked him, why are you crying? He says, you know something? I heard today in school that they killed 6 million Jews. How could I ever stop crying? What a neshama. He kept on crying. Late at night I'm sitting by his bed, she says, and suddenly he stopped crying. And he says to me, Mommy, does God really love the Jews? She says, I just hope and pray, yes. He says, you know something? I don't think they really died. Can't be, he says. It can't be. You know what they did? They went to the gas chambers. And then, on the other side, they went straight to Rashban. Can't forget Yerushalayim. You know, for 2,000 years, us being in exile, we were persecuted, but we always had choice. They come and tell us, you want to convert? You're okay. You want to be a Jew? I'll kill you. It means every Jew had choice. For the first time in history, hopefully the last time, we had no choice. We had no choice. Not only a Jew is a Jew, if my great-grandfather converted, I'm a candidate. That means it was beyond choice. It was beyond choice. Deeper than choice. I shared with you, in fact I'm going back to Vienna in a few weeks again. There will be a seminar with Hashem organized by a few Jews and a few very special non-Jewish brothers and sisters. For a whole week, I want to learn Mamash according to Jewish mysticism. What is the place of a non-Jew in the world? Or what's the place of a Jew in the world? Yeah, let's make sure I have the right words. It's delicate stuff. But what I want to tell you is, when I remember I told you it was in November in Vienna, played for really thousands of people. And you know, slowly they're coming out of their halls. One young lady, she says to me, I want you to know my grandfather converted. My father grew up as a Catholic, but he was taken to Auschwitz. He survived, but he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's not a Jew, and he definitely doesn't want to be a non-Jew. Okay, my father's in bad shape, but she says, I have no place in the world. Baruch Hashem, you know, so Hashem was one Shabbos, actually 2 Shabbos in Vienna, and it was mamish beautiful. I'm in contact with her all the time. I told her, you know, there is no other way. Your place is not Vienna, your place is the Holy Land. This is where you belong. But I want to tell you something. You know, we Jewish people have 2 holy things. We have a lot of holy things, but in the essence. I'm a Jew by choice, right? But this is the outside. The inside, I have no choice. You know why we die for God's name for 2,000 years? Yeah, by choice. It's the outside. Imagine someone would come up now with a pistol and say, okay, I want you to become the bishop in Rome, or I shoot you. Do I have choice? Do I have choice? I imagine someone come up to me with a pistol and say, hey, forget about Shabbos, Friday night, there's a limousine waiting for you, we'll go out and have a good time. Can my feet carry me? They wouldn't. You know why? It's beyond my choice. It's beyond my choice. So you see what it is? For 2,000 years, we were not touching yet the depths of Yiddishkeit, depths of a Jew. The deepest depths of us is that we have no choice. We have no choice. But yet I want to share with you something. There were a lot of mamish big rabbis. You know, Baruch Hashem, a lot of rabbis made it out of the valley of death. But then there were rabbis who by choice could have left. They didn't. And I want you to know, this week is a parsha of the 2 sons of Aaron, without burdening you, and just hope you know what I'm talking about. They went into the Holy of Holies, and they didn't have to. They didn't have to. They went in there, mamish, to give their soul back to God. By choice. And beyond choice. I want you to know, the last sefer my holy brother came out with, and I'm sure he's praying for all of us, was the life story of the last Alexandria Rebbe. He was one of the Rebbes that was in the Warsaw Ghetto, and he had about 400,000 chassidim, but not 400,000 chassidim who sent him $100 a week, right? Memberships, this is not it. He was the Rebbe who knew the name of all the 400,000 chassidim. He knew the names of their children. You know, those people had a lot of children. I just heard a story that the day before Rosh Hashanah, one chassid, asked the Rebbe to pray for his 10 children, and he writes his daughter's name, Fegele, one of his daughters. The Rebbe says, her name is Fegerocho. Awesome. Like the high priest. He mamish carried the name of all of them in his heart. He could have left 1,000 times. He had literally a passport to England, to South America, and chassidim were ready to pay $500,000 to the Germans to let him out. He by choice didn't go. I want you to know my holy uncle, one of my, my father had 8 brothers and they're all like illustrious. But the most illustrious was my holy uncle, was the chief rabbi in Hamburg. And I'm telling you long stories. He had mamish, he had passports from every country. I think my father told me he had 21 passports to leave, because he had so many friends all over the world. He says as long there's one Jew, because he was the last rabbi. He was the last rabbi in Germany. Do you know, until the day he was arrested, he had a radio program every Sunday. We could talk to all the Yidden. And mamish, risked his life every time. And it's a miracle they didn't shoot him right when he was talking. He says, Yidden, hold out. It won't last long. Hold out. Hold out. I just want to mention him because from the 6 million closest to us, one day the Nazis walked in, it was already 43, and they said, we want you to give us the name of 300 Jews who are hiding. He says, I'm a rabbi, you want me to give you out 300 Jews? They say, it's an order. And the Germans are very, very orderly. They even brought a block of paper and 2 pencils to write down the names. And they said, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. My holy uncle had 9 children. The next morning they came back. He gave him back the paper. And the only names that were written on it, his name, his wife's name, and the 9 children. By choice. You see, I have a feeling that as much as all the Jews went to the gas chambers not by choice, but to balance it off, those were some very, very holy people. By choice. I want to share with you an awesome Torah. I just thought of it. And just, the Heilige Woche, when he had to say something strong, he would say before, make yourself strong, and I'll tell you. Someone told me that when Lebrach is a Yid, in Auschwitz he had all kinds of functions. His function was to take care of the shoes of the people in Lebrach who went to the gas chambers. So he's sorting out the shoes. It's too heartbreaking even to tell. One day he's sorting shoes. There are a lot of children's shoes. And suddenly comes across his children's shoes. Anyway, the Yid is still alive, miraculously. And the shoes, some people keep a Sefer Torah. He says, the shoes. It's a big shop. Shoes are standing there. He says, when Mashiach is coming, I'm going to greet him with the shoes. If he brings me back my children, I'll put the shoes on them, and I know it's Mashiach. If he comes back without my children, I don't want to see him. I want you to know something. The beginning was, the first redemption was, God says to Moshe, take off your shoes. And it's crazy. When Mashiach is coming, everything has to do with feet. Everything with feet. So I want to see the most awesome Torah in the world. That we have the shoes. We have the shoes. God says to Moshe, take off your shoes. You know what will happen before Mashiach is coming? We'll have the shoes. We want God to give us back the feet. Well then, I have a melody for another passage. God says to Shai, console my people. Go out. Okay. Give me the best harmony. No, I'm saying the other one. I want you to know, obviously, like the Kesher Maggid says, when he walked into the gas chambers, the Chassidim asked him, Rebbe, what are you thinking? He says, our ashes will clean the whole world. Our ashes will clean the world. Our ashes will prepare the world for the coming of the Messiah. So, I want you to know, all of us, after the 6 million, we are living ashes. We are living ashes. But you know there are ashes which are dark, and we are ashes full of fire. Full of fire, full of light, full of light. And wherever we go, today a Jew has no right to walk the street of the world without cleaning the street. Without cleaning the street. We are the street cleaners of the world. And what a privilege to be a Jew, go out. What a privilege. You know, I love the world. We all love the world. But God, what a privilege. What a privilege to be a nephew of my holy uncle in Hamburg. What a privilege for my brother to come out with the story of the last Alexander Rebbe. God. When he became the Rebbe, when his father passed away, the Chassidim wanted him to become the Rebbe. He said, so Chassidim, I can't, I'm nearsighted. You know, everybody gives me a piece of paper with their name and their mother's name. It's hard for me to read it. Chassidim said, we don't care, we want you to be the Rebbe. Then his son says to him, Father, are you really nearsighted? He says, promise you won't tell. I can see the one corner of the world to the other. Oh, something else. Mamish. So I want you to know, when you go back to Poland, it's crazy. I just was never, also Russia, I was never felt so much what it is to be a Jew. And I never felt so much responsibility, mamish, to love the whole world. Mamish. You know, when I give a concert in town hall, I try to say hello to everyone, but there's limits. In Poland, all of us, I can only talk for myself, should talk for all of us. Literally by the door, I blocked the door and I wouldn't let anybody come into my concert unless I hugged them and I kissed them. Because I wanted them to know. I wanted them to know that it's us Jews. It's us who redeem the world. It is us who redeem the world. But we can't do it without them. We can't do it alone. Or we don't want to do it alone. And my mission is not for the Polish to convert and become Jewish. But my mission is, mamish, to let them know there is one God, the world is one. Gewalt is a world one. Gewalt is a world one. Gewalt is a world one. Awesome, awesome. You know, when we arrived in Poland, Sure Barbara and Sam, remember? Television, they asked me, oh, what brings you to Poland? I said, I want you to know, my great-great-grandfather was the chief rabbi of Krakow, and he had a message for you, but at that time, the doors weren't open yet. You didn't listen to him. So I, his great-great-grandson, I came back to give you his message. And I said, the message is very simple. The message is there is one God, and we all are one. But a long time ago, the gates between us and the world were closed. But the 6 million opened all the gates. They opened all the gates. Remember the story in that little village where they had 3 more days before the evacuation? They didn't know what to do. They were supposed to be in the marketplace 12 o'clock on Shabbos because they made sure that Nebuch the Yidden evacuated on Shabbos to destroy our holidays. They didn't know what to do. And I'm just telling you it short. So Yochanan, the henkedicke Schneider, Yochanan the limping tailor, everybody knows he was a Lamed Vav Tzaddik. He got up and he says, what? You don't know what to do for 3 days? Celebrate! Is anybody here who would like to be one of them? Gewalt, am I glad. Gewalt, I'm glad. I don't mind going to any guest chamber in the world. But Gewalt, I'm glad that I'm a Yid. What a privilege. I don't know why I suddenly want to tell you this last drill. I'm sure most of you heard me telling it. You know the difference between a holy inheritance and ordinary, I wouldn't say unholy, but ordinary inheritance? Very simple. I once had the privilege of talking to parents somewhere. I told them something. There is something which I inherit from my parents. They should live long. Everybody who has parents should have them forever, and we parents should live forever. There's something my parents have, and it gets to me after they leave this world. This is an estate, bonds, a few rubles in the bank. But for that you don't need to be a Jew. You know what we are leaving for our parents? For our children? But we're giving them while we are alive. Every Shabbos, every word of Torah. And this is something you cannot get, God forbid, after we're leaving this world. All the love we give our children, we have to give it to them while we're alive. Want you to know something? The last will of the 6 million, right? You know what hurts me? I'm sure you too. Sure, there is their last will, there's the inheritance after they left the world. You know what happened after they left the world? You put a little stone in Washington, and maybe now we have more freedom, you put a little stone in Moscow, and maybe one day we'll make a little stone in Sydney, Australia, right? But this is not what they left for us. What they left for us is what they left for us while they were alive. What they left for us is that which makes them still being alive. I don't have to tell you. This is a story. It's a long, long story, but I'm just giving you the middle. And I'm sure most of you heard me telling it. Told it maybe 1,000 times. What's the great Dana doing? Thank you, darling. If you give it to me, it's the best. Thank you, darling. Thank you so much. Okay, open your hearts, friends. It's a long story. I was supposed to be somewhere else. Miraculously, I'm this Shabbos in Antwerp. And I'm davening Shabbos morning in the Chotkeva Klois, Chotkeva Besmedrish. Something else. Chotka. Your soul shivers when you hear the name. Something else, right? Chotkeva is basically a very small town in Galician, and I'm sure if the Rebbe wouldn't have been there, we would never hear about it. But the Rebbe was there, Heilige Chotkeva Rebbe. Those light is shining. from one corner of the world to the other. So I'm davening there, and my parents educated us, my brother and me, so much. We were crazy about books. You got to be crazy about people, but also about books. And there are thousands of books. I don't mean prayer books like in most shuls. I mean real books. I mean prayer books, also a real book, but mamash, learning. Because the synagogue is not only for praying, it's for learning and praying is one thing. Learning is when I listen to God, praying is when God listens to me. Has to be together. But anyway, I look at the books in Bookshare, most of them I have. Suddenly I take out a book. And without burdening you, maybe some of you know the laws of purity and impurity, Taras, the sixth part of Mishnayos is the deepest, and even those who know how to learn, 90% haven't learned it yet. I take out the Sefer, and it's one question and 127 answers. But the answer is not just one page. Every answer is, you could see that this person knows the whole Torah. Mamish, the whole Torah. I look at the name, never heard of him. And while I'm looking at it, someone stands next to me and he says, "You know who this is? This is my uncle. I printed this book." My uncle was a businessman, a Koznitzer Chassid, one of the richest people in Poland, multi-millionaire, and poor people literally lived in his house. The house was open all the time. And he was learning day and night, but he had a big business. And my brother, he says, my father had a lot of brothers, and every brother had a lot of children. There's nothing left. At the end of the war, suddenly my uncle and I meet in Auschwitz. And we knew that we are the last from the whole family. It was so special. My holy uncle. Give me a hand. One night, and maybe it was tonight, my holy uncle wakes me up, and this is what he said. You're the only one left of all our family. You're the only one left of our family. I have to give somebody over my last will. I'm giving it over to you. And this is what he said. Give me a harmony. I want you to know I'm not a prophet, but my heart tells me tomorrow they'll call my name. Tomorrow they'll call my name. And I know I have a few more hours to live. I want you to know what I'm doing and give you over my last will. I've just a few more hours to go. So not on the level of bragging. I want you to know the truth. I know the whole tone of my heart. I know the whole Talmud and all the commentaries by heart. I'm 4 years in Auschwitz. I have not stopped learning for 1 second. While I was working, while they kicked me, while they whipped me, I was learning. I went read through the whole Talmud a few times. Right now, right now, right now, I'm beginning Masechta Moed Katan. One of the tragedies. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know, and I know. Tomorrow morning, at my last second, I'll be just about on the 7th page. So this is my last will. God's help when you will come out of here, bless you to make it. I want you to finish the book, my couldn't, for me. And this is what he said. Tell the world, tell the world, tell the world. This is our last will, this is our last will. Finish all the books we didn't have a chance to finish. Dear friends, today when we're here together, their last will, definitely not outside Yiddishkeit. Inside, inside, inside. Bless you, inside, inside. I want you to know something, friends. If you read the newspapers, people come back from Poland, and again, I don't have to tell you, never in the history of the world were so many people killed in one country. Because besides 6 million Jews, approximately 16 million people were killed in Poland. 16. I'm not sure, 10 or 16. Awesome, right? That means it is really, it is the valley of death, right? And this is not to justify Poland and the Ukraine, but I want to tell you an unbelievable story. It's good to remember. The heilige Ramotele Chernobyl I mentioned before. One time, you know, Chernobyl is not far from Kiev, Babi Yar, Ukraine, and Poland, those two, they organized the whole thing. Had to go through a forest, travel, and he had a very devoted horse driver, a Russian peasant. So Ramotele says to him, Ivan, you know I love you? He says, Rebbe, I love you too, for you it goes through the fire. He says, I want you to know something, I have to tie you down. I have to tie you down. I'll explain to you later why. They're tying him down, the travels of the forest. And you could see, if they wouldn't have tied him down, he would have killed him. He got wild. He got wild, he wanted to kill you. It was terrible. They passed through the forest, quieted down again, they untie him. Ramotele says, now you know why I tied you down. Just tell me, what happened to you? He says, when we came to the forest, I wanted to kill everyone. Open your hearts. Ramotele says, you know what happened in this forest here, which is Babi Yar, Kiev, the whole neighborhood? Cain killed Abel in this forest. You see, Cain and Abel were the masters of the whole world, right? Cain killed Abel in this forest. He says this whole area here, full of murder. Full of murder. Not to be believed. I want you to know. You know, when we think of the 6 million, what's the first thing you're thinking about? The first thing you're thinking about is Geval, is Gadol, is Kadosh, Master of the world. Let me sanctify your name. Can you please ask your mamish to rise and mamish to say it with me? But again, friends, I don't have to tell you, the world doesn't know yet. We don't sanctify God's name by putting on stones. Sanctify God's name by being living ashes, living candles. Is Gadol v'nis Kadosh Shemizeh Rabo V'yalmo Nivrochi Duseh V'yamlir Malchuseh Aveyatma Urkoye Avikareh Al-Meshich B'vayei Choyeh You somehow in details how they were killed, and I don't know the strength for that, it's too heartbreaking. So I just say 6 million. You know, Mishnah is the same letters like Neshama, right? We have 6 Mishnahs, 6 Mishnah. noru nachalosom v'yinucha b'sholom al mishkovom Adonai Maromi. The heilige Motherless Noble would say, Master of the world, Master of the world, Master of the world. What kind of a Shabbos do you have when the world is not Shabbos day? So he would say Friday night, good Shabbos tat in Himmel. Let there be Shabbos in the world. You will also have Shabbos. I say good Shabbos through the 6 million. Shabbos to the holiest, holiest, holiest we Jewish people ever had. And good Shabbos, Tatin Himmel. Good Shabbos to our children. And one day, one day, one day good Shabbos to the world. If you remember one of the 6 million, this is what he taught me. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Shabbos, Shabbos, good 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 Shabbos. Thank you to all the Eden. Thank you, God, that we are still alive. But the Rebbe says today, any Jew is alive. It's a miracle. God bless you and me to be always, always living miracles. Thank you so much.